everybody, this is Tom Breeze, and also with me we have Mr.
Ollie Wilson.
And welcome to another episode of Path to Purchase. So in the previous episode, we were talking about survey funnels, and we were really kind of going through a bit of an autopsy, not only of my own survey funnel, which I call a discovery tool for the agency that's working extremely well so far, but also we kind of like looked at some other case studies and some other survey funnels that people have been putting together, kind of going through what we like, what we don't like about them. But what I think is really powerful is the fact that we're seeing these funnels now work incredibly well with stats behind them, and it's just proving that this is going to be the future. So if you didn't catch the last episode, go and grab it, because it'll make so much more sense as we move into this episode. But this episode, Ollie, I really want to kind of dive into the idea of like, once someone's been through the funnel, they've answered the questions you've got for them. At that point, they're expecting some sort of delivery. Because I know we've also talked about actual delivery of content and whether people are consuming as well, which is going to be interesting to tie this in as well. But in terms of the process that I've taken, I've gone through a process of creating bespoke videos for people's answers. So for me, there's 6 questions, and based on those answers, there's going to be 8 potential outcomes, and therefore I created 8 completely bespoke videos. They follow similar content, but the answers to the survey questions I've had for them really guide how I speak in the videos. And so it's me just talking it through with a computer screen behind me, and 8 very different videos. And then at the end of each one of those videos, there's a call to action to say, hey, go and check out the sales page for kind of, it's an audit and a strategy process. We call it a map session, so a master ad plan. And it's working incredibly well. But I know that based on people's answers right now, it's built and it's working, but I've not optimized the process. So we've got very little email marketing off the back of it right now. We've got very little remarketing to get more conversions going through the process. But we've had 7 people out of 50 so far buy the map session for $500. So I know it's working incredibly well. But talk to me in terms of like what you would advise people to do. So I think I've done some good, strong stuff in terms of the actual video being delivered as soon, like on the thank you page. There's no kind of email waiting for it to arrive. But what would you look to make sure that's in there in terms of making sure that like we maximize the conversions, but also maximize the user experience? I really come at this from a perspective of user experience to begin with, but it just so happened that the conversions are working incredibly well as well, which is nice. So in terms of making, like, you give like a wow factor, you make sure you deliver some amazing content and give the whole experience an amazing kind of process. What do you think would be the best, or a few tips for people thinking, for those people that are thinking about building a survey funnel of some sort for their own business?
Yeah, sure. Well, I know that you're having really good results at the moment from the process that you're using, and just like everything, you've got to kind of start somewhere before you start to optimize it. You know, you speak about this a lot, that you have to kind of get clear on what you want to have happen first and actually go and do it. Then you want to kind of sort of amplify it and optimize it, and then thirdly you want to kind of customize it, and so those are kind of the 3 phases that we look at in any given situation from where you are. So before kind of starting this kind of survey funnel and thinking that it's a good idea, the first thing you need to do is decide on what you want to have happen and actually go and get version 1 done before kind of moving into where you are now, which is a little bit more a little bit more specific over where we really improve the experience for these leads that are coming through. They're telling you things about them to take them to where you want them to be. So with that said, what the biggest question that I come back to with a lot of people is where do we want to actually take them? You know, what do we actually want to do ultimately? What's our ultimate goal here? What's the main objective? And I think you need to be really, really clear on what that objective is, because it changes the course of what you actually do next once people come out the other end of that kind of funnel and that survey where you're asking them those questions. So for some people, it may be that you're ultimately trying to drive them to a consultation, a scheduled consultation. Works very well for consultants, or it's an agency that, like you and I run, where you really, you can't sell a digital product like that. You can't sell an information product straight off the bat. You need to be able to have a consultative conversation with somebody first, diagnose them further if you wish. So there's two forms of that. You could have it paid, you could have it free, but the key thing is that you need to know where you want to take them, and into some people's cases, if they're selling an information product, you're going to be taking them possibly to a sales page, or you're going to be putting them through a sales process then to follow them up to be buying something that's appropriate to what they've told you about. So it's all very dependent on where you want to try and take them, and it also varies on what modalities you're going to use to reach them, because in some cases it's not relevant to at its extreme. If I show two different scales of this, if I an agency like you, and I do a quiz like you, and I find that there are possibly 6 outcomes or whatever it may be from my quiz. First of all, for 3 of those outcomes, I'm going to call them positive outcomes. So a positive outcome for me is somebody that I would regard to be as being qualified, or could be qualified based on what they've told me. And I'm probably going to have 3 negative outcomes as well, taking that I've got 6 in total. So you've got positive and negative outcomes. Ones that you just want to disqualify, actually move away from you, and you probably have already said that to them in your follow-up, that maybe this isn't a good fit for you, but here's some free resources, that type of thing. Or you've got the positive outcomes. So you need to then address breaking that down now, knowing what our end goal is. Well, let's talk about it as a diagnostic call, or as you call it, a map session. Well, I know how much that person's worth to me. Now, that means to me now that I know that not everybody on the back of that is going to actually go and schedule a call with me and pay me a refundable $500 amount of money to get on the phone with me ahead of speaking with me. They're just not going to do that. So I need to build in and think about my follow-up process now to how I can get myself continually in front of them. So this comes back to the basics. Now I've got their information. What about delivering at its extreme? I'm going to give you another example, but at its extreme, a shock and awe box in the post with a USB jump drive of the video that the segment, one of the 3 positive outcomes that there were from the quiz on. Already pre-recorded, already preloaded, with a lift letter that goes along with that, with a headline that dials straight into their particular problem or challenge that they've discovered as part of the quiz, and the call to action on that letter being that you want to get them to a diagnostic call, and what you need to do to go and do that. And what goes with that is a testimonial book, which, guess what, has all of the testimonials that are related to the problem or challenge from that particular segment of the audience that go with that as well, that for people just like them have had that problem that they're facing, that you can help them with. And so, at its extreme, you can really start to dial in to how you do that.
Well, do you know what I love about that? I love the fact that, so some of the questions you could ask would be about budget, and some of the questions you can ask, almost qualify them based on their answers to be a higher quality lead score, so to speak. So for me, if they've got audiences that are searching for them, if they've got kind of a brand that's been around for a long time and has done very well, if they are kind of like got different types of audiences in terms of like people that share common interests, or remarketing audiences that are on a large list already. If they're ticking all the boxes there, that could be the sort of thing where I say, send out an email like afterwards and say, hey, look, I hope you enjoyed your map session. Let me know what your address is, because I've got something very special to send you. And it could just be as simple as that. So it looks like you're like looking after them, which you obviously are doing, but you would segment that just to purely like the top 10% or something like that, people that go through that process. You could highlight that to your own, instead of disqualifying, you're pro-qualifying or whatever that is. And then kind of have that email, send them out that package that still is very relevant to them, talks their language, and kind of like, yeah, do a shopping package. I think that would be incredible for really building that kind of like that such good positioning with that audience, because you're just taking the top 10% of people that go through the process, knowing that the value for that type of lead is incredible. You might as well put all your efforts into making sure that you close those leads and deliver an incredible service to those people.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And you know, what you could do is, knowing that from the logic of the end of that survey, is that you could serve up some additional contact fields that you need, like their address. And actually, before you try and move them towards a diagnostic call, you could actually say, I've got a free report that I'd like to send you, which you know, answers the following questions, because you know what they are. And that gives you the opportunity to ask for the physical address, mailing information for you to send it in the post. So that's one very good way of doing that for sure. And that, of course, can get quite granular, but you have the information to act upon it if you wish. And I think, you know, the other extreme of that is that you may well, and I've done this on several occasions, actually have a quiz that leads directly to a sales letter. So I'm selling something online, and so I will send them in 3 different places, with three different sales letters, with 3 different video sales letters at the top of them, with 3 different headlines that allow me then to talk very directly. Because it's really the difference between being a sniper rifle and being a shotgun. And I talk, as you know, talk about this a lot, that, you know, the things that you're able to create when you're selling something online on the back of these types of sessions is a whole different sequences, email follow-up, that follow people up to different pages for each of those different avatars or segments within your list. So you can tailor the headline, the sales letter, the sub-headline, the opener, the testimonials, the bullet points, and of course the close, because you can answer all of the objections in advance, knowing exactly who they are. We've done that in lots of different niches, and it's worked really well. And the other thing that I would positively endorse people doing as well is, you know, you can build this sometimes into the a post follow-up questions to the actual quiz. So you can actually do the quiz first, and then what you can do is then actually bolt on another level of questions, which simply gauge the interest now of the person. And so you've asked your questions, you can provide an answer to them, and then they put their details in where they get a video, they go back to that page, and on that page it can then ask them some more specific questions in regards to qualification. So, you know, you can say, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this? Because now they've got their solution. Now you've prescribed something to them. You can now start asking questions of them, like, so they're moving towards us. So in a different way now, we can start saying to them, you know, okay, underneath the video, you'll see that there's a few more questions. If you're looking to find out more how we can help, just answer those now, and then we'll be able to take the next step, or whatever it is, or I'll see you on the other side. And that then means that you can start to lead score people. If they scored, 1 to 4 interested, then it might tailor your follow-up. You might just do email and SMS. If it's, 5, 6 or 7, then you might do email, SMS, and phone, outbound call. And then if it's a 9 or a 10, then you might conditionally serve up that mailing address thing as well to get direct mail and so now you're dealing with, you're being clever about the follow-up and serving things up conditionally to really provide a very personalized experience on the back of these things here as well. And I think the key is this varies. The information that you use varies very different to, it changes for different people. And in some cases, there's nothing wrong with collecting all of that, real rich information and not yet actually acting upon it. Letting it go into your autoresponder system, even serving up, a few different responses if that's all you think that you can do, and then exporting all of that into a spreadsheet and actually looking at everybody's answers. I actually, interestingly, a long time ago, when Perry Marshall first released his Google AdWords book, the first ever edition, in that book somewhere, he talks about a question that he's asking people on the thank you page of after they've opted in. Back then you could drive people blatantly to an opt-in page from AdWords and not having a compliance issue. But even so, he would ask people a question on the thank you page, which would be in relation to, on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was it to find out what you were looking for? And then he would also ask, what's your number one challenge facing you right now? Now, that's not really a quiz, but what he was actually really doing was, because it was like a free-form text box, I can't remember the exact, I think it was 3 questions in total, was what he was actually doing was wanting to just gather that information so he had the intelligence to then go back to where the traffic source was coming from, to adapt the copy for his ads, so he knew what search queries were coming through and he could adapt it based upon what people are telling him. So he could mine out all of the different things that he needed in different markets that he didn't even know existed unless he asked the question. So you can really, really make this work for you from a traffic perspective to be better educated over what to do as well.
It's amazing. There's so many different ways of using the answers. So not just having a bespoke follow-up, but also what you're going to do with the type of lead that comes through. If they're really high quality, if they're low quality, how to deal with those people. How do you let people down nicely? How do you also send shock and awe packages to the best people? But also from that information, you can tweak the whole process, speak in the language that your best prospects speak, and also then kind of use that information to find new audiences that would fit for that as well. I know that from our stuff, we're going to be taking different types of conversion pixels and saying, right, if they've hit this particular page, give that kind of like define that conversion, whether it be from Facebook or whether it be from AdWords, for example, and then it's going to feed back into the ad campaigns that we run, because it will tell us more information about those types of conversions, and it will also tell us that where we're getting the best conversions from, what sort of traffic is doing that, but also we can then target the people correctly and build kind of custom audiences, lookalike audiences, similar audiences based off the best conversion pixels. And that's the whole process, just allows you to start advertising more and more effectively to fill a conversion process that works incredibly well as well. So the whole segmentation of that audience prior to almost opt-in, and then making sure that they kind of get the right sort of information out to them with a great follow-up process, but also using that information to guide future advertising. It's just the whole process becomes, like, in isolation, something that can be continually optimized, not just based on the first process of getting people through the door, but also once they've gone through the door, they've taken certain actions based on the qualification process. You can kind of like just clean the whole process up and kind of like just be continuously optimizing the whole process. I just think that in itself is not the most difficult thing to build out. It might sound complicated, but it really is not compared to other things that people have learned in terms of how to kind of make a business work from advertising and from marketing, etc. If you just have a simple survey funnel in place, which is very much like the offline world, going into a store, like a website, like you go into a store, go onto a website and asking questions of the sales representative. And in the same way, it's like a survey is kind of doing a very similar thing, or becoming the doctor and being the person that answers the questions and then gives advice based on that process. It means that you've got all the data you'll ever need, plus also probably one of the most powerful advertising and marketing type of campaigns you could build for your business. And so from that perspective, if anyone's listening and thinking, oh, should I get into survey funnels or not? Should I go and build something? I think for God's sake, it's definitely worth a test for sure to start with. But then, like, I think that from everyone trying to say, here's the best way to promote a product, here's what you should be offering, people don't necessarily want that so much any longer. They don't want more free information. That's kind of like been done and is kind of like losing its power that it used to have. Now people are looking to get their problem solved. And I just think of so many different scenarios that would work so well. Even at Christmas, for example, if I went onto a website that sells women's gifts for Christmas for my wife, for example, and then someone just came up, like, you know how you get like these pop-up places where they just say, hey, let me ask her, let me find the best present for your wife. What's she into? Would she buy a bag like this or like this? Sort of thing. And I can click on the ones that I think, do you have a family? Yes or no? Do you go on fancy nights out? Yes or no? Just questions like that would mean that we'd find the perfect bag, or at least narrow it down to like, here's 5 amazing designer bags based on your budget, based on your lifestyle of your wife, based on what she already likes and stuff. Like, you can imagine, like, the sales process for any business could be done in such an elegant way that really allows the user to have an experience that is just easy and also guides me in the process to say, okay, instead of just browsing this e-commerce store and trying to find it out for yourself, here's a process where within a minute you can find the perfect gift for your wife based on exactly what requirements women have for bags. I'm being very sexist here, just saying that women only like bags for Christmas, but you get the idea. Like, and it would be very easy for me to buy anything for myself that I'd be interested in if there was just a survey process, and people just asked me the right questions and gave me good advice. And even I know that this is something that's happened to a friend of mine who went to a Jaguar store for buying a Jaguar car. They went there and they said, they asked him a load of questions and said, you know what, you're better off buying a BMW. It's a better car for you based on what you want. And for me, he never stops talking about that story. And so Jaguar's got all this amazing free press for the sake of, like, if you go to Jaguar, they'll tell you if the car's right for you or not. And if not, they'll guide you to what car would be right for you. But it means you just want to go to Jaguar first now. and if you like that sort of I just think all of that is about giving the user the best possible experience, starting there for your brand and trying to build the perfect user experience. And this is it. And then the fact that it does do a fantastic job based on conversion, if you have the right follow-up sequence, which we've talked about here, I just think it's going to be the way to think about things. And it just needs a bit of creativity to the type of campaign you run, or the type of server that you build. But it's not the hardest thing to do. It's not kind of like trying to be the best at copywriting, the best at sales process. It's more a case of just saying, hey, what would you say to someone if they were standing in front of you? And then what information or what kind of advice would you have for them? That's basically marketing. It's not, it's no longer, hey, I've got this amazing thing for you. This product is just incredible. Go and buy it. It's more a case of, let me know a bit more about who you are, and I'll tell you what product is going to be right for you out of these 7 that we've got, sort of thing. That's a much better process.
Yeah, I think, there's so much that we could talk about, and the analogy that I've spoke about before is people don't know. People need to go through this process of, self-discovery, self-selection, and as such, the thing that I would suggest would be considering really those people that take the negative path of knowing that then, that at the end of this funnel, they're probably not a good fit. If that's what you're trying to do, there are some funnels, and there is many, that don't have this negative track that, you know, they're not a good fit, because chances are you've probably got something that would be a good fit for them. You're just trying to find out, you know, broadly speaking, where are they? But what I would say is, if you are offering a higher ticket thing and that's where you're trying to take people to intentionally, like you are, it would be a bit like, okay, so this isn't right for you, but I've got good news. And the good news is I've got this free course, or I've got this, you know, I've got this amazing kind of membership, and it's actually, you know, it's £97. It's really a throwaway. But what that'll enable you to do is give you the foundations to hopefully move your business from where it is now to where you want it to be. And then we can rejoin the conversation together, because people feel like you're really serving them then. And it comes back to that prescription to them of what's right for them. And I think the thing is that, you know, in itself, it's true. Not everybody is a good fit for you. And I know something. I had a call with somebody through one of our discovery calls yesterday who went through the process. I actually do through our schedule call funnel. So it's not a survey funnel. It's the thing that they get to beyond that, really. We still ask some very specific questions, and he went through everything, gave us all of his information, hadn't watched any of the videos seemingly that had got him through there. And when we jumped on the call, you know, maybe there's a problem in our process because it's a free discovery call, not a paid for discovery call. This guy was wholly inadequately kind of prepared for the call, which is one of the big things. He was late for the call. He didn't have the information to hand. He hadn't read any of the emails. He hadn't done any of this stuff. It's just not indicative of a very good client for us, just by his actions that he'd taken up until then. Now, I'm wondering whether, you know, we would have been able to actually know a little bit more about this guy, more broadly speaking, up until that point, if we'd have gone through this process. And I think that a lot of people would agree with that, you know the people you want to work with, or you know the products that are a good fit for different segments of people. You know, this really allows you to really discover more than you could ever imagine, and do all of the clever stuff that we've spoke about here to get the best result.
Yes, exactly. I think it's a really ongoing, very interesting conversation. And over time, I know that we're going to be improving my process. I know I'm going to be passing that over to you, Ollie, so that, well, you've already guided the process pretty much in its entirety so far. But I mean, in terms of getting it further tweaked and getting it like, so hand it over to you to make it even much better. I'm looking forward to getting that started. We'll come back, I'm sure, over this time and time again and talk about how we put these things together, and also kind of some of the results. Because right now, a 14% conversion rate from someone signing up and also, going through the discovery tool on my website to then becoming a map session customer, so to speak, and not necessarily a client just yet, but spending $500 with us to go through that process. For me, that means that every person that goes through our discovery tool right now is worth $70 to us, which is incredible. And I know that those numbers will change over time as like the process becomes probably kind of like, as we start pushing it with ads and looking at where we can get more and more broader audiences going through the process, as opposed to just focusing on on the best traffic. We might want to scale out further, and therefore the conversion rates will differ. But this is going to be like a really interesting process for us, because it means that we'll probably be advising pretty much every single one of our clients to go this route in due course, once we've got more data across many different niches and things. But it just seems like this is going to be I say this is going to be the future. This is right now, and this is what's working incredibly well right now. And it's just that creativity behind it that's just needed, and therefore having a conversation with you at some point is the way to go.
Definitely, yeah, looking forward to that.
So just to reiterate from the last call as well, because I know that we talked about in the last call, or the last podcast, Ollie was very kind in a way that said, look, if you're interested in building your own survey funnel of some sort, or if you're getting a discovery tool or whatever you want to call it on your website to make sure that you can segment your audience give a really good user experience, build your brand off the back of that process as well, then go to Oliver Bilson, which is 2ls.com/consultation. That's oliverbilson.com/consultation. And you can schedule a call with you, I believe, Ollie, and talk to you about how to start building these things out, consult with you on it, and also get you and your agency, to build it out for them.
Most certainly. Thanks, Tom.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening in. As always, we love doing these things. If you are listening to this, and it's probably very close to Christmas, I would have thought, happy Christmas, and also Happy New Year if you don't get to listen to a podcast in between that. Yeah, we're looking forward to a big 2017.
Most certainly. Love it. Thanks, guys.